Every environment has an invisible architect, be it relationships, family dynamics, work relationship. Every environment has an invisible architect. People who build but never go noticed. These people walk into a room of chaos and leave behind peace. And you walk into that room and think that, wow, how did this happen? Not knowing that someone worked really hard on it. The world's a little softer right now. Let's open today's thoughts. I'm Aliyah, and you're listening to Dayah Station. So today I had a lot of errands to run. I had to take my sister-in-law to go sign papers for her taxes, and then after that I had to go print out labels for a package that I need to return tomorrow. And then also had to pass the store, get some tomatoes, pass another store, get some plants that I did not eventually get because they need to be planned out before we just, buy it. And then I came home. And the one thing I was expecting to get home to was most of the babies asleep, including my babies and then my niece and nephew. I wanted them all to be asleep so I could get some work done. I walk through the door and they're not. They're actually more chaotic than ever because they're tired, they want to go to sleep, they're hungry. So I walk in, I change my clothes, and then I tend to them. They're still awake at this point and I don't notice them needing milk very urgently, so I just sit down next to them and I start talking to them, and they start to calm down a little bit, but then over time they start to get even more fuzzy because now they want to sleep. So they're screaming their lungs off at this point and I am about to lose my shit. So I'm like, okay, where's everyone? Everyone's eating lunch. Everyone went to their own little area to go eat lunch, and I am just by myself with these screaming lunatics, right? So I get their bottles ready and then I give them their bottles. Most of them sleep except for one who wants to play around, but it is what it is. But it got me thinking because every single thing in my life has me thinking, right? So I get that done, and then my sister-in-law comes upstairs, it's quiet, and I tell her, let's avoid making noise because they're going to wake up and I'm not in the mood for that. So she switches with me, and then I go into the kitchen, I get my food ready, and I'm eating, and then I hear one of the babies screaming because she's annoyed and she wants to play around, I guess, and I'm scared that she's going to wake up everybody, right? So instead of jumping in, I just leave it to my sister-in-law to do it. So I'm in the kitchen and I'm thinking about this, and it makes me realize that I am the invisible architect in my family. I walked into the house and it was full of chaos because all the babies were up. And then I sorted it out. Everybody came back from lunch and it was quiet. I left behind peace. As I left the room, it was quiet. The babies were asleep. Everything was under control. And that's the thing. Those are things that go unnoticed. People just simply come into the room and they're like, oh my God, the babies are asleep. Not knowing that I had to deal with the screaming and all that came with it. And that happens to a lot of people. It doesn't only happen to, for example, me and mom, but it happens to you at work. It happens to you in your friendship. It happens to every single human being because in every single environment, there's someone who takes the role of the architect, the builder, the visionary. And this person doesn't go noticed. Nobody notices the hard work that this person puts in, because all you see is the piece that's left behind after they walk out. These people, they work their asses off, but they never get anything in return. And I think that is the hardest part about being that person in a family dynamic or even a friendship dynamic. You put in all the work and everybody thinks it's easy because that's how my family sees me. They see me do things and they're like, oh my God, Aliyah, it's so easy for you. You do it because you're good at it. But the thing is, it's work that I put in. It's not easy. It's still effort. But what do I get in return? Who does that for me? And that part becomes the most loneliest part that I have to sit with most of the time because no one can reciprocate what I can offer. Because I've worked so hard to get to the point that I am. I've put so much effort into creating the systems that I have around me to create this peace in chaos that no one else can give that back to me. That results into a space of loneliness. And I was reading this article about completely different to the story, but it kind of ties back into it because it had me thinking about this specific concept that I'm talking about. So this article was talking about how how everything is a win when experience is the goal. And the writer was talking about how they never had they never like lived life that everything was an achievement that they had to like obtain. It was like always a grade, or it was always a new level of competition, basically. And as I'm reading this, it actually triggered something in me. And I had to sit with it, because what do you mean it triggered something in you? It was like the feeling was not really like I wasn't relating to it. I was actually pissed about it. And I had to understand why I felt the way I felt. And the reason I felt the way I felt was very, very simple. All my life, I've lived life by experiencing it. Every single thing that has ever went wrong in my life was an experience. And I never saw it as, why is this happening to me? But I always saw it as, oh, what is this trying to achieve me? Oh, what is the end goal of this? There's something bigger to it. So all of my downfalls were never actually downfalls. They were literally experiences that I was experiencing. And for me, when I was reading someone else realizing this now, it kind of made me feel like, but I've been always doing this. Why are people like so relating to this when this was my existence? And like when you live a life like that, or when you live like a life like being the invisible architect, you end up being alone. You really end up being alone. Life becomes very lonely. Even if you have 1,000 friends around you, everything else within that lifestyle becomes almost as if you're by yourself in this world. And it's sad, because the thing is, I'm surrounded by love. I'm surrounded by good people. I'm surrounded by good friends. But I will never be able to get what I give, because I've brought myself to a standard that's almost impossible to reciprocate. And that is partly my fault. It's just the way that I am. It's the way that I live my life. I get it. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it's sad and that it's a lonely path. And a lot of us are those invisible architects, and we live every single day wondering why we don't have people around us that can understand us. Why are we so misunderstood? Reality is, no, we're not misunderstood. Is the world around us cannot get to that level that we're at. And it's not a bad thing. Everybody has a different level. But the specific amount of people in this world have such a high standard that was probably caused by always being told that you need to do better, to the point that now they're sitting on a platform by themselves and no one can reach it. And there's nothing you can do to come back down to normal. You will never be able to come back down to normal. You'll never be able to come down and be on the same level as others, because your standards are permanent. You're only going to grow from there. You're not going to fall. Because the root of who you are is this lifestyle that you've created for yourself, this path that you've chosen. And it's a lonely one. And it's a very lonely one. And I think a lot of people will listen to this and be like, I don't understand what you're talking about. But some people will listen to this and be like, you know what? I get it. Because I am the invisible architect. Until next time, guys. Assalamu alaikum.